My name is Emily, and for as long as I can remember, I've been the one holding my family together. I'm the person who steps up, fixes problems, and makes sure everyone is okay, even when it means putting my own needs last. But there comes a point when enough is enough, and I reached that point not too long ago. This is the story of how I learned to stand up for myself, even when it meant going against the people I love most. It's a story of betrayal, heartbreak, and ultimately, finding peace on my own terms. Let me take you through it, step by step, and show you how everything unfolded. It all started with a phone call from my mom one late afternoon. I was sitting in my quiet home office, surrounded by piles of work I needed to finish, when her voice blasted through the speaker. "Emily, how could you turn your back on your own family?" she yelled, her tone sharp enough to cut through the stillness. I sighed, pinching the bridge of my nose as a familiar headache started to form. "Mom, we've been over this 1,000 times. I can't keep rescuing Ethan. He's 32 years old. He needs to figure things out on his own." Her reply was quick, loaded with the same guilt I'd heard so many times before. "He's your brother, Emily. Family looks out for each other no matter what." I glanced at the neat stack of bills on my desk, reminders of the long hours I put in to keep my life stable. "I've helped him, Mom. For years I've been there. This isn't about family. It's about Ethan not caring enough to change. He burned through all his money, and now he expects me to fix it again." My brother Ethan has always been the opposite of me. Where I worked hard and planned ahead, he drifted through life, taking the easy way out. Now, at 32, he had a part-time job at a local gas station, barely scraping by, yet somehow found the cash for fancy tech, late-night parties, and trips he had no business taking. When his landlord warned him about eviction, my mom didn't ask for my help. She demanded it. She insisted I pay his rent, as if it were my duty. I said no. That choice set off a storm I never saw coming. Just a couple of days later, I woke up to a notification on my phone that made my stomach drop. I opened social media and saw a long public post from my mom. "Family is supposed to stand together, but some people choose to walk away from their own blood. It's heartbreaking when selfishness overshadows love and loyalty. I'm so disappointed." The comments rolled in fast. Old friends, distant relatives, even people I hadn't spoken to in years, all offering pity to my mom and throwing shade at me. "How could she be so cold?" one wrote. "Family comes first," said another. Then I saw Ethan's post. "I never imagined my own sister would leave me stranded, but I guess money matters more to her than family. Thanks, Mom, for always having my back." The words hit like a punch. They were turning me into the bad guy, twisting the truth to make me seem cruel and uncaring. I put my phone down and stared out the window, anger simmering inside me. I had given up so much for them over the years: time, money, energy, and this was how they repaid me? By dragging my name through the mud for daring to set a limit? The hurt burned, but as it settled into something colder, I made a choice. If they wanted to make this a public fight, I was ready to push back. But what I didn't know then was that this was just the beginning of a much deeper betrayal. The anger from those posts wouldn't leave me. I sat at my dining table that night, my laptop glowing in front of me, as I replayed the last few years in my mind. How many times had I bailed Ethan out? Countless. When he got fired from his job 3 years ago for not showing up, I paid his bills until he found something new. When his old car broke down, I handed over money for repairs, only to learn later he'd spent it on a gaming console. And when he swore he needed a loan to get back on track, that cash went straight to trendy clothes and online splurges. The worst part wasn't even Ethan's recklessness. It was my mom's constant excuses for him. "He's just finding his way," she'd say every time I tried to talk about it. "Boys need more time to grow up." That time had stretched into a decade of free passes, and now, with those social media posts, she wasn't just defending him, she was attacking me. I tried to distract myself by checking work emails, but the knot in my chest wouldn't loosen. I couldn't let this go. That evening, I picked up the phone and called a lawyer. My voice trembled as I explained the situation, detailing the posts and how they were ruining my reputation. "I can't let them get away with this," I said, barely keeping my frustration in check. The lawyer listened quietly before responding. "Defamation cases can be complex, but if these posts have hurt you, whether at work or personally, you've got a case. Let's start by collecting proof. I hung up, feeling a mix of rage and hope. For once, someone was in my corner. But as I saved screenshots of the posts, another thought hit me. My dad, who passed away when I was just 12, had left an inheritance for both Ethan and me, meant to be locked away until we turned 25. I hadn't thought about it in ages, assuming my share was safe in some account. A nagging feeling pushed me to dig deeper. The next day, I called my lawyer again. While you're looking into things, can you check on my inheritance? I just want to make sure it's all as it should be. Of course, he replied. I had no idea that simple request was about to uncover a betrayal far worse than any social media rant. A week later, an email from my lawyer popped up with the subject line, Inheritance Review Results. My heart raced as I opened it and read through the findings. My hands shook as I processed the words. For the past 6 years, Ethan had been pulling money from what was supposed to be my share of the inheritance. The account had been under my mom's control until I turned 25, but somehow, after that, Ethan had gotten access and was taking out cash regularly. Thousands of dollars, gone. Money I didn't even know I had, spent on who knows what. I called my lawyer immediately, my voice tight. How could this happen? My mom managed that account for years. She never mentioned Ethan having access. His tone was steady but serious. It's possible she didn't know, but it's also possible she allowed it, thinking he'd handle it properly. Either way, this is theft, plain and simple. He's taken a large chunk of what's yours. I leaned back in my chair, trying to wrap my head around it. Not only had Ethan been stealing from me, but my mom, whether she meant to or not, had let it slide. That night, I sat alone at my kitchen table, staring at the financial records my lawyer had sent. Each transaction felt like a personal attack. Payments for trips, electronics, luxury items, things I'd worked hard to afford for myself while Ethan used my money to live large. The social media posts suddenly seemed like a small issue compared to this. This wasn't just about public shame. This was a betrayal that cut straight to the heart of my family. I wanted to call my mom right then, demand answers, but I stopped myself. Confronting her without a plan would only lead to more excuses and blame. Instead, I emailed my lawyer. What do we do next? As I went to bed that night, one thought kept looping in my mind. They were about to see a side of me they'd never expected. But would I be ready for what came next? The following day, I met with my lawyer in his small, cluttered office to map out our next moves. The air felt heavy as I laid out everything we'd discovered. This isn't just about the inheritance, I said, my voice firm. Ethan and my mom have gone too far. Those posts were awful, but finding out he's been stealing from me for years, I want to take real action. My lawyer nodded, his face calm and professional. We'll file for defamation over the social media posts. As for the inheritance theft, the records make it a clear case, but it could get messy. I crossed my arms, unflinching. Messy doesn't scare me. I'm done letting them walk over me. That evening, I called my mom. I needed to hear her side, whether she was part of this or just too blind to see Ethan for who he was. Hi, Mom, I started, keeping my tone even. Emily, she answered, her voice already edged with irritation. Are you calling to say sorry? You know Ethan is— Stop! I cut her off. I have questions about Dad's inheritance. Specifically, why Ethan has been taking money from my share. There was a long silence on her end. What are you talking about? She finally asked, sounding unsure, or was it guilt? I had a lawyer check into it, I said. For 6 years, Ethan's been withdrawing thousands from my portion. Did you know? Her hesitation told me everything. Emily, it's not what it looks like, she stammered. Ethan needed help. He swore he'd pay it back. My chest tightened, anger and disbelief crashing over me. You knew? You knew he was taking from me and you said nothing? I didn't see it as stealing, she argued weakly. It's family money. He was struggling, and I trusted him to do the right thing. I let out a bitter laugh. Responsible? He's been spending it on vacations and toys while I've worked myself to exhaustion, and you just let it happen. Emily, please, she begged. You don't get it. Ethan's had a hard time. I thought you'd be fine without it. That wasn't your decision to make, I snapped. I trusted you to safeguard that money, and you gave it away like it meant nothing. Do you even realize how betrayed I feel? She tried to explain, but I couldn't listen anymore. This conversation is done, I said coldly. You'll hear from my lawyer. As I hung up, a wave of clarity hit me. For years, I'd let them guilt me into giving in. Not anymore. This was about more than money. It was about standing up for myself. But how far would this fight go? The aftermath of that call was instant. The next morning, my phone buzzed with missed calls and desperate texts from my mom. Her voicemails swung from defensive to pleading. Emily, you can't do this. Ethan didn't mean to hurt anyone. Followed by, let's talk as a family. We don't need lawyers. I didn't reply. For the first time, I felt in control. This wasn't just about the cash. It was about drawing a line, making it clear I wouldn't be their safety net forever. Ethan, of course, took a different route. That afternoon, I logged into social media and saw a fresh wave of posts aimed at me. First, she refuses to help her brother. Now she's threatening to sue her own family over money. Selfish, greedy, heartless. Some people show their true colors when it comes to a few bucks. I stared at the screen, my jaw tight. The comments echoed the same nonsense as before. She's terrible. Family should always come first. Ethan, you're better off without her. I took a screenshot and sent it to my lawyer without hesitation. The next day, I met with him again. We're filing both cases, he said. The defamation suit is solid, and for the inheritance, the evidence is undeniable. But you need to brace yourself. This will likely damage your relationship with your mom even more. I leaned forward, my face set. It's already broken beyond fixing. Let's move forward. He nodded. One more thing. If this goes to court, Ethan will have to explain where the money went. Are you prepared for that? It could get ugly. I hesitated for a split second. Did I want to know the full extent of his betrayal? But then I thought of all the years I'd sacrificed for a family that never valued it. I'm ready, I said firmly. That night, my mom called again. I answered, against my better judgment. Emily, she said, her voice shaky. I spoke to Ethan. He told me things about the money. I didn't know it was this bad. What did he say? I asked sharply. Her silence was deafening. I'm sorry, she whispered at last. I didn't realize how much he'd taken. I should have stopped him. Her words felt empty, but I let her go on. I'll talk to him. We'll sort this out. Please, don't take this to court. I closed my eyes, taking a deep breath. It's too late for that, Mom. You should have thought about this years ago. Hanging up, I felt a mix of anger and relief. She was starting to see the truth, but it couldn't undo the hurt. What else was waiting to be uncovered? A week later, my lawyer called with news that stopped me cold. We've been digging through more financial records, he began, his tone even but heavy. It turns out Ethan hasn't just been taking from your inheritance. He's also been pulling from your mom's accounts. Money she set aside for retirement. I froze. What are you saying? We found withdrawals that match the same pattern as the ones from your share, he explained. Consistent, unauthorized transactions. I couldn't speak for a moment. My mom had defended Ethan so fiercely, ignored his flaws so completely, and now he'd stolen from her too? Does she know? I asked finally. Not yet, he replied. But if we move forward with the cases, this will come out. I hung up, my thoughts spinning. As frustrated as I was with my mom for enabling Ethan, the idea of her losing her retirement savings made me sick. That evening, I called her. Mom, I need to tell you something, and it's not going to be easy to hear. What is it? She asked, sounding tired. I explained what the lawyer had found. The silence on her end was crushing. He took my money too, she whispered, her voice breaking. Yes, Mom, I said, softening my tone. I didn't want to be the one to tell you, but you need to know. Ethan's been stealing from both of us. Her reaction was a mix of shock and pain. I can't believe this. I trusted him with everything. You shouldn't have, I said gently. I know you care about him, but you've let him get away with too much. This is what happens when there are no limits. She started to cry, and for the first time I felt a flicker of sympathy. As much as she'd hurt me, she was also a victim of Ethan's selfishness. "What do we do now?" she asked through her tears. "We let the legal process handle it," I said firmly. "This isn't just about money anymore. It's about making him face the consequences." The days that followed were heavy. My lawyer filed both cases, and I could feel the weight of the upcoming battle pressing down on me. I knew it wouldn't be simple, but it was necessary. For too long, I'd let my mom and Ethan take advantage of my kindness. This time, I was holding my ground. But would justice really bring the closure I needed? The first court date came faster than I expected. Sitting in the courtroom, I felt a storm of emotions: anticipation, fear, determination. I wanted justice for what Ethan had done, for the years of entitlement, the theft, the way he'd made me out to be the villain. But I also knew this process would hurt, exposing our family's ugliest secrets for all to see. When Ethan walked in with my mom, his smug look made my blood boil. He seemed annoyed, as if this was just another minor hassle. My mom, though, looked broken. She wouldn't meet my eyes, her shoulders slumped like the weight of it all had finally hit her. My lawyer presented the evidence step by step: bank statements, transaction logs, screenshots of the social media posts, all laid out clearly. Each time he spoke, I noticed Ethan shifting in his seat, growing more uneasy. When it was his turn to speak, his voice dripped with fake regret. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," he said. "I was in a bad place. I took the money thinking I'd pay it back. But Emily doesn't get what it's like to struggle. She's always had her life figured out." My jaw tightened. Struggling didn't justify the lavish trips or expensive toys. No matter how much he played the victim, the facts told the real story. When the judge asked my mom to testify, she hesitated, glancing at Ethan with uncertainty. Finally, she spoke, her voice shaky. "I trusted Ethan," she admitted. "I thought he'd use the money wisely. I didn't know how much he'd taken or what he spent it on. I didn't see how much he'd hurt Emily." Her words stung, but they also held a hint of accountability. She was starting to own up to the truth, even if it was late. The court ruled in my favor. Ethan was ordered to repay what he'd stolen, and the defamation case ended with a public apology that both he and my mom had to post online. It wasn't a flawless win. I knew it could take years for Ethan to pay me back, and the apology didn't erase the damage, but it was something. As we left the courtroom, Ethan glared at me. "Hope you're happy," he muttered. "I am," I replied, meeting his eyes without backing down. My mom stayed behind, her face full of tears. "Emily, I don't know how to fix this," she said softly. "Start by being honest," I told her. "With me, with yourself, and with Ethan. No more excuses." She nodded, guilt and sorrow written across her face. "I'll try," she whispered. That night, sitting in my apartment, I reflected on everything. The legal fight was over, but the real challenge was just starting. Setting boundaries with my family wouldn't be easy, but I felt ready for it. And as painful as it was to see my mom and brother for who they truly were, there was relief in finally standing up for myself. But could I rebuild anything from the ashes of this mess? In the weeks after the ruling, life felt strangely calm. My phone wasn't constantly buzzing with calls or texts from my mom begging me to fix Ethan's latest disaster. It was as if the court decision had made her step back, or maybe she was just too ashamed to face me. But the quiet didn't feel lonely. It felt like freedom. One afternoon, as I sorted through paperwork at my kitchen table, my phone rang. It was my mom. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something made me answer. "Hi, Mom," I said, keeping my voice neutral. "Hi, Emily," she replied, sounding unsure. "I've been thinking a lot about everything: the inheritance, the court, Ethan." I waited, not sure where this was headed. "I didn't want to believe it at first," she went on, "but I can't ignore it anymore. You were right about him, and about me. I let him take advantage of you, and I stood by while he hurt you. I'm so sorry." Her words struck deeper than I'd expected. I'd longed for an apology like this for years, but now that it was here, I wasn't sure how to respond. "Thank you for saying that," I said at last. "But it's not just about saying sorry, Mom. It's about changing. For so long I've let you and Ethan treat me like I didn't matter. That has to end." She sighed. "I know. I've been thinking about how to do better. I just hope it's not too late to mend things with us. I paused before answering. It's not too late, but it'll take time. Meanwhile, Ethan had gone silent. Part of me wondered if he was planning some kind of comeback, but my lawyer assured me the legal terms made it impossible for him to strike back financially. Still, I knew not to trust him fully. One day I got a notification that he'd posted online. Bracing myself for more drama, I opened it. To my surprise, it wasn't an attack. "I want to apologize to everyone I've hurt, especially my sister Emily," it read. "I made mistakes I can't take back, and I'm working to make things right. I hope she can forgive me one day." I didn't know if I should laugh or cry. Was he genuinely sorry? Or was this just another act? I chose not to reply. I wasn't ready to let him back in. Not yet. Over the next few months, I focused on rebuilding my life. I dove into my work, picked up hobbies I'd long ignored, and even started planning a trip I'd always dreamed of taking. My relationship with my mom stayed fragile but slowly improved. She began calling weekly, not to complain or ask for help, but just to check on me. It was a small gesture, but it meant something. As for Ethan, I kept my distance. The court-ordered repayments came in sporadically, and while I appreciated the money, I didn't count on it. I wasn't waiting for him to change or apologize sincerely. What mattered was that I'd taken back control of my life. One evening, months later, I sat on my balcony with a warm cup of tea, watching the city lights flicker in the distance. For the first time in ages, my mind wasn't consumed with family drama or endless demands. Life had shifted in ways I never thought possible. The constant stress that used to weigh me down was gone, replaced by a quiet I hadn't known I could feel. I'd always feared that standing up for myself would mean losing everything, my family, my sense of connection, but instead, it gave me something I'd been missing all along: peace. My mom and I continued to rebuild bit by bit. Our weekly calls grew lighter, freer, as if the burden of old expectations had lifted. She'd talk about small things, her new knitting project, a recipe she tried, and I'd share bits of my day. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Ethan remained distant. His payments trickled in, but I didn't rely on them. The truth was, I didn't need his apologies or his money to move on. I'd learned to stand on my own, not out of bitterness, but out of respect for myself. Reflecting on it all, I realized the biggest change wasn't in my family, it was in me. For years, I'd been trapped in a cycle of trying to earn approval from people who only took me for granted. I'd sacrificed my happiness, my stability, bending over backward to support them. But standing up for myself, even when it was tough, showed me a new way forward. My mom's efforts to make amends, however small, were a quiet comfort. I didn't fully trust her yet, but I could see hints of the mother I'd always wanted, someone who valued me for me, not for what I could give. Ethan was a different story. His online apologies felt shallow, and I wasn't ready to let him back into my life. Maybe one day I'd find a way to forgive him, but that day wasn't here. What mattered most was that I'd learned to protect my own space, to value my time and energy. It wasn't easy, and there were moments I doubted myself, questioned if I'd done the right thing, but I knew now that standing up for my worth was always the right choice. As I sipped my tea, a quiet pride settled over me. My family might not have changed completely, but I had, and that was enough. The peace I'd found was hard won, and I wasn't letting it go, not for anyone.